You've probably heard of Snowdon, the tallest mountain in Wales. Once thought to be a burial mound for a giant. The mountain we're climbing is Cadair Idris, not too far away. At 893 metres, it's one of the largest in Britain, and a place I've been climbing since childhood. Geology tells us these colossal hills formed millions of years ago from igneous rock, partially carved out of the earth over the succeeding millennia by the power of glacial erosion. Though in legend, it is often associated instead with holy men, princes, and giants. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and let's get to the top.
This is David, he's there. This is my dad, he's there. The lads are off to Wales.
We're having a little coffee before we go there. A lot of history in Wales, a lot of old things happen there.
So we're driving along. David, you're going to say something. Come on, you're the talker.
Shut up. We are now entering the nether regions of Wales. Here we are being driven by our underpaid chauffeur.
So we're here in Wales. We're there's Dad down there. We're going to go climb a mountain.
This is Barmouth, a lovely seaside town and our base camp for the weekend.
Right then, so what do you think about where we're going today, Dad?
Rubbish. So what do you want to speak before we make the ascent of Cadair?
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be really good.
Motivation?
Yeah.
We shouldn't have done the Indian curry last night.
It's true.
It takes it out of me. Whew, Christ. That coffee really was strong. I'm going to crash. My name's Peter Kelly and I'm going to tell you about the Viking invasion of 1132 into Gallanagh-Edwards and right.
So this whole region is steeped in myth and legend. This northern bit of Wales was the one bit that held out the longest against the English. So they remained independent until the sort of late 1300s. Most of the other Welsh kingdoms were sort of conquered by at least the time of the Normans. So they survived up here because it's very mountainous, it's very rugged. There's not really much that the English wanted. So they'd come in and raid every now and again and sort of just leave them to their own devices. And so, of course, there's lots of myths and legends up here because it was... I mean, they still speak the same language that's descended from the ancient Celts who once lived in this land. Obviously, the Romans held this place for a good 300, 400 years, but their occupation was never really much more than skin deep. So a lot of the myths and legends around here potentially date back much further into the Iron Age, maybe even some of the Bronze Age. There's a lot of burial mounds around here, lots of stone circles from the Neolithic period. Very, very ancient history. And these mountains of Snowdonia, a lot of them once upon a time were thought to have been burial mounds for giants. In the later sort of early medieval period in particular, when a lot of these stories were written down and kind of standardised by bards and poets who would wander through the hills and travel through the courts of the kings and princes of the region. So where we're going to go to now was once possibly thought to have been a burial mound for a giant. They love their giants. There are loads of Welsh giants, there are Irish giants, they sometimes cross over the sea to fight each other. That's where the sort of Giant's Causeway in Northern Ireland, the mythology behind that comes from as well. Loads of myths and legends about that in this place. But Idris apparently had his seat at Cadair, and that's where there's many legends and myths to do with him up there. And also in ancient times, it was said that if you spent a night up on Cadair Idris, back if you were a druid or if you were an aspiring holy man or something back then, and probably even the early Christian ascetics who lived in this land, it was thought that if you spent a night up there, you'd either go mad or you'd become very wise.
What's our future, do you think?
I think we'll probably take option number 3, which is falling off the mountain.
I am a snow demon.
What's going on, Aidan Kelly?
How now, brown cow? Are these for me?
Yeah.
The name of this place, directly translated, means Idris's chair. Idris, usually taken as the name of a giant who once lived here. Though there may also be a link to a long-lost 7th century battle said to have taken place on the mountain between invading Irishmen and the rulers of Merioneth. A sub-kingdom of Gwynedd, the foremost power of northern Wales. It's hard to imagine a battle having taken place on this mountain. But back then, in the early Middle Ages, this was a highly sought after land of fiercely independent sheep herders and mounted spearmen. We're escorted up to the top by an unlikely companion, a sheepdog guarding his home. Is this a spirit of the mountain, or have we already lost our minds?
We bloody made it, didn't we? See if there's any signal at Cadair. Oh, yeah. I see why this was a holy place, can't you? It's very eerie out there, it's very strange. And in the ancient times, people thought if they went high up, they could commune with the gods. So that's why you had augurs in ancient Rome. They'd stand at the top columns and pillars, and they'd speak to the gods, and you'd be able to tell people's futures. Very lucrative job. And it was similar in cultures all over the world. Ancient Jericho, the tower at Jericho, they think it might have been used by ancient priest kings to commune with the spirits. And this, obviously mountains, you have holy mountains all over the world. It's a similar sort of thing. the holiest people would come up here. They'd come up here on pilgrimages of sorts.
Here he is, the holiest person.
Oh, we made it.
Oh, we did indeed.
Oh.
Any thoughts, Aidan Kelly?
Nice bar.
I've just eaten a banana and a nutritious energy natural bar made of cocoa and orange.
Nice. I found out that my waterproof jacket is drenched, so that was nice.
It looks good though.
Yeah, it looks
Don't
great.
want.
Much later still, in the 11th century, it was in the mountains of Snowdonia that the last and only king of all Wales, Griffith ap Llywelyn, a fierce man who achieved this feat through force of arms, was hunted down and killed by his own men after a serious defeat by the English led by Harold Godwinson. The English, just 3 years later, would be subdued and defeated by Normans from across the sea, who would eventually make headway in Wales too, though the rulers here in the north would hold out until well into the 1300s, under a long line of powerful rulers. Even after defeat by the English under Edward Longshanks, rising up in rebellion again and again over the centuries, under such figures as Owen Glendower. Partly inspired by the stories of men such as Glendower, this region was a bastion of the Welsh language revival of the 20th century. The political party Plaid Cymru being founded not far away on the Llyn Peninsula, and continuing to be a force in British politics today.
Any final thoughts, boys?
Dad, tell them about the glacier.
Just made it before the rain.
Good final
Just tell
thought.
me about this valley, this valley, because it's shaped like you. It's a glacial deposit. So that's what this big old rock is here.
These are rocks just sitting places because they just got deposited with glacier.
By the glacier.
Nice.
Now and amongst the sheep.
That's quite a philosophical metaphor there, Dave.